please do not interrupt the meeting. The meeting, if you feel that there's a violation of the Sunshine Act, please contact the attorney. You're up. Ms. Johnson, your claim was noted, as it said. So, no official business was discussed during the break. Jeannie, if you have a question, you may ask the question of the other people.
I just want to know what exactly Dwayne's adding so I can understand what it is, that's all.
What he would like added.
What you would like added. Go ahead.
The only thing I want to add is that Suzanne Johnson declared a Pennsylvania Sunshine Act violation at the February 10th meeting.
When?
Right at the time Carl called for an executive session prior to the meeting.
I must have been out of the room. I didn't.
No, we all walked back to it.
I know, but I didn't know what Sunshine violation.
You didn't hear anything.
I don't recall hearing it. That's why I was asking what it
Yeah.
was.
Mr. Thompson and I spoke, and I will contact our solicitor to discuss this and to review everything to make sure that we are following policy and following legal requirements.
Okay. So we are going to add that then to the minutes.
Following my conversation pending the conversation with our solicitor.
So
Okay.
prior to us voting
Okay.
on that,
Contact the
consent, I understand,
solicitor.
she'll have an
Gotcha.
answer. All right. So, any other discussion about the other minutes? Okay. Steve, you're up.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on the Property and Supply Committee report?
I do. F1.
Okay, anybody else? Before we have that question answered.
I want to know where the solicitor bills are for the $11,460.50. I do not have them in my folder. I asked for them 4 times, still don't see them.
I heard solicitor reports, my apology. I will get solicitor bills or invoices for you.
I thought that that's what you got, the solicitor reports. You wanted actual so what I hear you saying is, you want actual breakdown, dollar for dollar, as to what each dollar was spent on. Is that what you're looking for?
No.
What are you looking for
What I've
specifically?
been attaining every time we have a stock and leader bill is the solicitor invoices that back that bill up, and they're very descriptive of conversations and things. So I know exactly, and it dates, the amount of money. It's very extensive, and it's been missing since the beginning of November. Last bill we paid was on November 18th, and that was for October 29th. That was the last time. After that, we never saw another solicitor bill since. That's why we've got $11,460.50. I want the solicitor invoices that you're paying.
As I've shared with you, Mr. Sullivan, I will certainly look at that. My apologies, I didn't think you wanted the solicitor invoices, the reports.
Well,
is
you
what I
said,
heard.
you said solicitor report, you never said invoice.
Yeah, I
So
did. I wrote him an email and said invoices.
And that's fine. I must have missed it. That's
I
fine.
thought you said reports too, so.
Again, I'll make sure I get that.
What, his original one. No, from, hold on a second, we'll pause a second. I think it was a subject. Okay, Mr. Sullivan, Dr. Sullivan, you asked for reports in your March 3rd, not the invoices.
Yeah, I
So
did.
that's what he's following.
No, there's 4.
Now, your email, because I'm looking at your email, your actual email, dated March 3rd.
He's asking tonight what's the matter.
And I asked Tom for them
But,
at
yeah,
the
they-
February 10th
They
meeting.
say reports.
And he said
Okay.
I would have them March.
Okay.
It says report. That's
Yeah,
what
it says reports, that's why this
It
it
says
said
report. It never
definition,
said invoices.
words matter, unfortunately. So, okay. duly noted, and will be taken care of,
Absolutely.
all right?
Okay, is there any other questions or any other thoughts on A, B, C, D, F, E, E, F, and G?
I guess just explain C, D, and E, so we know what we're voting on.
Okay.
Yeah, ARC Systems,
Yeah, this is an annual quote that we get for ARC, it's a renewal. They do, as it says, it's our fire suppression system we have throughout the district. And they do the inspections on that,
Has to be done manually.
similar to our fire extinguisher inspection. We do that with our system with fire suppression system. Item D would be our iPad renewal lease. That is reoccurring every year. And item E would be the new Chromebook cycle that was discussed at FPS. And proceeded, we recommended to use fund balance to purchase this Chromebook.
Okay, so that's what that is. Okay.
That's item E, yes.
So D, is that new devices and we turn the old ones in, or we're just renewing the ones we still have?
Those are for new devices
Okay,
for grades 6 and 10.
good. Oh,
It's an every year
Yeah.
Any more questions for the finance committee?
Dr. Naylor, which are more expensive, or are they around the same between the Chromebooks and iPads?
They're pretty comparable in price. We do get some resale value with the iPads. So we'll collect those iPads from current ninth graders here in May and seniors. And then we will work with a reseller to recover some of those costs. We do the same for Chromebooks. What we normally get anywhere from $75 to $100 for an iPad, and Chromebooks usually are even close to that from a reseller standpoint. The upfront costs are somewhat similar.
Is there a reason why we're still doing the Chromebooks at the elementary level?
Nothing specific other than that's, what our teachers and students are familiar with. If there's something that they want to transition to differently, that's where I work with the admin of those buildings and those grade levels. That's something that they want to pursue. We can always look at those different options that are available.
Okay, because do the older kids get a keyboard now along with their iPads?
Yes.
So that makes it a little bit
Yes.
easier, I guess. Educationally, is there any benefit that you see to continuing with the Chromebooks versus moving to iPads? Is it at the same cost?
educationally, very honestly, I think it's what is most familiar with the educator. So if the educator's familiar with and uses Chromebooks, there would be a lag if we go over to an iPad and vice versa. If we went from an iPad to a Chromebook, there would be a transition and a lag transition. So teachers are accustomed to them, they're used to using them. They work with the systems that we have, so at this point, I'd say they're effective. I haven't heard of anybody who wishes to have iPads over Chromebooks, but for purposes of making sure that we can manage the devices, it's best to have the same platform available for a building or at least a grade level span. So by doing Chromebooks K to 5, that makes it beneficial for the students and the staff to use them and understand them. It also makes it ease of use and ease of record keeping with everything through years.
I just didn't know if, since we do get a better resale value, if it would be smart to start looking at if we ever wanted to switch to that.
That could be something that we can look into.
Before we continue to invest
Sure.
in new Chromebooks.
Sure, we can take a look into that and see what the cost benefit would be, if there is one.
Plus the iPad is touch too. You can do keyboard, I think the elementary school will like that.
It might
Whatever,
be
it's
more
not-
user
I don't know.
friendly for the elementary kids.
It could be. I've seen kindergartners adapt very well to just about anything.
Thank you. Would we be able to have some kind of thoughts on that before we vote next week?
We can take a look, that's,
Survey the
that's
teachers.
that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's a quick
Um,
turn.
I don't know that we will look, but I don't know. that
It's
we
just
can-
before we
yeah.
spend another 40,000 on new
We
Chromebooks.
can begin that process and maybe.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. I'm just gonna be upfront and honest. I'm a little older now, so I get a little bit more at ease and, you're asked, if you'd ask a team of teachers that question, you'd have them freaking out right now. You mean I'm gonna have to learn a new device over the summer, integrate that in the classroom? I think if we wanna look at something like that, then we need to look at it a little bit more strategically. And that's where, you know, there's time and training that needs to be put in place for that. These Chromebooks are touchscreen. Touchscreen Chromebooks are right now sitting in 3, 4, and 5. But I understand the question with regards to investment, iPad versus Chromebooks.
Yeah, I agree that this would be something that if we want to do, we would do in the future, not necessarily before next week.
That means no, you're not going to.
Not by next week.
Once we have to have this decision made by, when's the deadline?
For these devices?
Yeah.
For the Chromebook cycle and the iPads, this month, so that we can take
Oh.
advantage of the discount that we receive.
And how many Chromebooks are we buying?
560 Chromebooks.
That's
But
for how many?
Also understand,
That would help support grades K 1 and 2.
That's for half the building.
Yes.
So it would be a major investment for half of what we use Chromebooks for.
About 3 to 4 years.
and then
Yeah,
we
you're looking at
we
3 to
look
4
at
years.
Professional development needed to train teachers on how to use iPads, work that the IT department would have to go through to make connections and send out the apps and the different things to the iPads, find out which programs don't run on iPads, and figure out workarounds for between the end of this school year and the beginning of next year that would put a lot of stress on teachers, administrators, and everyone trying to just go quickly into an iPad or reissue.
And are these, the Chromebooks that we're replacing, are they completely like shot that we couldn't get any more time out of them to explore this issue a little bit
We're
more?
on year 5 in these Chromebooks, so we've stretched them out a good number of years.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some that are still gonna be in working order that we'll keep.
Dr. Naylor, do software companies typically upgrade their operating software on a regular basis, like every couple weeks, couple months, and so
On a
forth?
regular basis, absolutely.
Yeah, so iOS and operating systems are upgraded regularly, constantly, and if you notice on your phones, you see you need to upgrade your apps, upgrade those things. So as devices age, operating systems are designed for the newer devices and don't run on the parameters of the older devices. So that's what makes so many phones obsolete after just so many years. So as we go through this, really the technology and the
And the
hardware.
automatic updates to specific Chromebook devices are on a schedule, so, gonna be a point where they won't get updated. So that's something to think about as well. So I'm trying to strategically purchase Chromebooks as well, that have an operating system that's automatically updated through 2031. And those devices are here for approval here next month at 137,000. That will be going out of circulation. So there's, I think from last contact, there was 25,000 devices across the United States. So I'm trying to get our devices in line. If they aren't available, then we'll go to the new released item, that's 155,797. So I shared that information as well with our business manager. So we're trying to work strategically in acquiring the devices as well, and looking at those circulation, but it still has a number of years where it's going to be utilized with regards to the automatic updates and everything. Hence the reason we're as well trying to move on those items at this time of the year as well. If we delay, that's fine. I'm just coming back and we're going to take out a fund balance of $173,594.
I mean, if it's something that we're considering transitioning to iPads perhaps instead of Chromebooks, I mean, is it something that we can, I don't know if there's a way to.
Mr. Drexler, I would say this, what I hear you saying is we're considering transitioning to iPads over Chromebooks. I've not heard that from our teachers. I've not heard that from Dr. Miller. I think that was brought up here. And I do think that if the educators are used to using them, and the kids are used to using them, and it works well for them right now efficiently, I believe that that's probably best for them at this point. I do think that it's not a bad idea to review and take a look and survey for a strategic plan moving forward if we want to do
Right,
that.
maybe like 1 year at a
Yeah.
time, because I know once they get to 6th grade, they move from a Chromebook to an iPad.
Sure.
So, like, maybe, is it feasible to look in to see what it costs, like 1 year at a time, so maybe start with 5th grade? And then the next time look at 4th grade, and then 3rd grade, and then, you know, back through kindergarten,
I
if
think
that's
that-
something.
I think that's something that we could look at and explore for perhaps 26, 27.
So what would happen if we're spending the $40,000 on these Chromebooks then, if we since these are for what, you said K through 2, or?
Yes.
We could still keep, those would still be okay for the next few years.
Mhm. Sure.
If we can start looking at, maybe we can look at 3rd through 5th. I don't know what the
Sure.
right answer is, I'm
Sure.
not.
That's depending on what we find, when
Yeah.
we do the research. It may not be beneficial to move to iPads for the elementary, it may be beneficial to remain at Chromebooks, but we'd certainly take a look at a number of criteria and figure
Let
that
us
out.
know what they say.
Yeah,
So, but if we spend this money this year, it's not like we're losing it if we decide to replace iPads, because this is K
our
through 2,
students
so
will,
we
our
would
students
decide.
will use those
Yeah.
devices.
Okay. To try to get the life out of them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I just ask that you make sure to say thank you for that donation next time,
Yeah.
when we go to vote.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Say thank you to the
I'm
report.
for it.
Okay.
Under personnel, several items listed there. Does anyone have any questions about the personnel items?
I do. Yeah.
What's your question?
My question is, why isn't my name on here on the volunteer list? I spoke with Laura Mace weeks ago, and she said it would be on here. She's from contact administration, and I don't see it on here.
I think Mrs. Mace shared with you, Mr. Sullivan. I don't know, I wasn't there when you spoke with her. She did give me a call and said that you had been speaking with me and walked over and requested to be considered. I believe there are a couple of things that she needs to run or would run, but I think the question that we shared, and I believe the process that I shared, was that building volunteers would be recommended by building administrators, volunteer coaches would be recommended by the athletic director, and that board members know board members, so if board members wish to be volunteers, they need to make an appeal to the board.
Why? I need to make an appeal to the board.
If you would like to be added, that would be, I think Mr. Thompson could share a little bit about that, but I believe board members know board members.
What do you mean, to be a volunteer where, board members or board members, what do you mean?
Classroom volunteer,
So you're saying.
athletic volunteer,
No,
anything.
I understand that. I don't understand what you're saying
Yeah,
there.
so we've changed our process, because as we know, and as I shared, when we interview folks, the administration vets those people and
Right,
bring
I
them
get
in,
that. Like
and you provide your
principals do that
information.
for their buildings,
Same thing for
teachers for their
volunteers.
classrooms.
But for board members, to not put building principals in awkward positions,
Oh,
where
okay.
somebody might come to them and ask, the thought would be that board members wishing to be volunteers would make the request to the board that they would like to be volunteers.
So you mean, like, when we go to vote, they would speak for themselves?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
gotcha.
And if we want to include Mr. Sullivan or any board member that wants to be a volunteer, I think the board member simply needs to ask that they'd like to be added to that, and then the democratic process plays out.
I'm asking to be added at this point, because I didn't know, when I discussed this before, Dr. Missel, and no offense to you, but when I discussed this before, you just said the board members know other board members. You didn't specify that I had to literally ask the board members to put me back on. I went back over to Laura Mason, she said, "You're not on?" I was like, "No." She said, "Well, you passed everything." I was like, "I know." That's what she said to me.
But the only way at this point in time is that if a person that had voted in the negative towards you on that, the last time you were on, has to then, according to Robert's Rules of Order, I do believe, could be wrong, has to say that they'd like to change their vote and reconsider, put the motion up for reconsider.
Because it's already been voted on.
Yes.
Correct.
Someone has to bring it back up.
Yes, it's voted in the negative.
In the opposite manner.
So you can't just get voted on every time you want.
Yep,
Oh. Well, I wasn't here, so I can't do any of
yep.
it.
Well, with that said, Brian, lawyer, I would like to ask you to do that because I was more than gracious the last time you were re-upped. I don't miss
Brian's
Brian's
not
here.
here.
Brian's not even here.
Oh, Brian, oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Whoops. Sorry, I didn't see him down there. Sorry. That's the problem with these long lines like this. You can't see who's here.
Wait, it was one negative, wait, there was one negative, what's happening?
Anyone who did
Anyone,
not vote
okay,
in
so he
favor.
was appealing to Brian, right?
He was appealing to Brian.
Gotcha. So maybe Brian will be
Brian's
here
not
to
here.
vote.
He may be.
But then it won't be on the agenda, so it can't happen this month.
Yeah.
Any other questions about personnel report?
Nick, I have a quick question, just out of curiosity. The music department traveled to New York City, how long is that list? Is that just a day?
It looks like it's just a day trip.
day trip.
Yeah, anything out of state has to be, it's gotta say.
Yeah, it's out of state. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, moving on to curriculum, co-curriculum, and policy. Item A is the first reading of the board policies that were discussed and moved forward at the March 4th CCMP meeting. Those policies are listed there for review. Policies 216.1, 222, 227, 231.1, and 247.
236.1.
236. So those are there. We also have the final approval of the policies that were on first reading last month, as well as the approval of the comprehensive plans and reports for 2025 to 2028. Does anyone have any questions about the CCNP report?
I have some questions, Nick. These recommended comprehensive plans, are these are state mandated?
Correct.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
And they're early,
And they're early?
and they're early.
Cool.
No, but there's been times we've been like later.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Are there any
They're
other
on
questions?
No time.
They're on time.
Any other questions?
All right, Brian's not here, and he'll have a lot to say. VSBA you can come up with, I'll have the highlights from LIU. And you have that. Anybody have any questions with FMX? Okay. On February 26th, all board members were invited to participate in a board training session held in the district office. Four board members were present. No school board business was conducted during that time. After the adjournment of this meeting, the school board will move into executive session for the purpose of sharing content from the board training held on February 26, 2025, and discuss the continuation of that training. Do I have anything else?
Yes. Dr. Mitchell?
Yes.
On the solicitor reports, I want you to clarify something for me. I'm concerned about your reply to me on March 4th, and I quote, "Moving forward, should it be the request of the board, these reports will be provided regularly and at the first full board meeting occurring following their receipt." Can you please explain that?
Yeah, I think you have March 6th report because that just came through. So I'm trying my best to make sure that I provide the reports when they're provided to me, as the reports for November and December were missed by Stockton Leader. When they're provided to me, I will provide them at the very next board meeting that takes place to all board members.
Okay, well, I was a little confused by your wording because it says moving forward, should it be the request of the board? That's the problem I have.
Does the board not want to receive this?
That's not an option.
It's a board of 9, not a board of 1.
No, because under policy 012, let me read this to you. Unless the superintendent is the subject of the conversation, the superintendent shall be included in each communication with the solicitor. The solicitor shall include a summary of the conversation in the next solicitor report.
Okay.
That's what we've been getting from Don Bell since day one. That's what we've been doing, and it's in policy 012.
Okay.
That was for transparency. That's what Jeannie asked about one day, when she did not know that that's what we've been doing.
I've never received one in 4 years, so I was a little
4.
shocked that you
That's
guys
why.
didn't.
Never received one until 11 years when Dr. Bell took over.
That's
So,
what I'm saying, I've never seen
yeah,
one.
And this information does tell us, gives us information on what was talked about.
So, that's yours. So, yeah, that's why I said what I said. If the board wants it, then we will do it. So, but you've asked, and I have seen no problem in giving the rest of the board the report. And if you want invoices, then the whole board should get all the invoices. Because there's no information that one board member should receive that another one should not.
Oh, I don't have a problem with that. I understand that. Everybody gets it. That's fine.
Okay. Is there any other question?
I'd like to make another Sunshine Act challenge. Section 708 of the Sunshine Act enumerates 7 reasons an agency may hold an executive session, and none of the 7 listed in Section 708 comply with what you just listed as a reason that you're going into executive session after this meeting. You can discuss personnel matters, you can discuss collective bargaining agreements, lease or real estate property, consulting with an attorney about active or pending litigation, discussing agency business which will violate law privilege or lead to the disclosure of information or confidentiality protected by law. For certain higher education institutions, that's number 6, but that doesn't apply to you. And number 7, discussing certain public safety issues. None of those 7 reasons apply to the reason you just gave for going into executive session, and therefore you are violating the Sunshine Act. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.